All right, welcome back to the channel. Today, I've got a very special video for you. So I'm on with my good friend, Tom Cox, who has gone from zero to over $100,000 a month cash with his executive coaching business in the last 10 months since starting from scratch. So this is going to be a banger today. I know we did one when we were in Mexico a few months ago and hit your first kind of like 50K month. And lots has changed since then too. So I appreciate you coming back on the channel, Tom. It's always a pleasure chatting with you, and really looking forward to this conversation today. You mind just kind of giving us a quick little rundown, who you are, what the offer is, kind of what your background is, and then we'll kick it off from there.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Jeremy. It's good to be here. It's good to be on your channel. I love watching your channel. It's interesting. I found your channel back in, I think it was like November of 2022, and you'd been putting content up for a little bit. It was a TikTok video that you were talking about how to run a funnel on TikTok, which is, I think, the one and only TikTok video you ever made.
Yeah,
Somehow that got to me, and then I started watching the rest, and well, the rest is history. But yeah, it's fun. It's been as much fun watching your journey as it has been taking my journey kind of side by side with you.
that's amazing. Yeah, it's been a hell of a ride to say the least for both of us, and it's been super cool for me to see your growth too. Because just before we hit record as well, you asked me the question: Have you had another client go from zero to $100,000 a month? And I said, no, you're the first one. All right, there's been a lot of other people that have kind of already like come in with momentum and kind of doing around like 20, 30, 50K a month and then kind of blow past there. But yeah, aside from that, well, I guess with Jake and his offer, he did like 150 with the high ticket. So little, but that's a little bit different. Because you started from like literally zero, right? The business is like $0, zero followers, zero pieces of content, and like zero paying customer. I know you'd helped a couple other people just in your network before, but just the process of you kind of just started from literally from zero, and taking it as far as you have has just been super cool to see. So mind just kind of giving a quick little rundown of like the offer and kind of like what kind of the background, kind of what got you into doing what you're doing right now, and then we'll kind of talk about the journey from kind of 0 to 50K a month, and then 50 to 100, and kind of the changes and insights that you learned along the way.
Yeah, you bet. So, I've spent 25 years in corporate America in, ascending levels of executive roles, and decided that I wanted to become a coach. And we'll talk about why in a moment. But I wanted to coach mid-career professionals on how to become executives. I find that there's a lot of people that don't know what's holding them back from taking the next step in their career. They get to like senior manager or even maybe director level, but they can't quite get to VP or C-suite. And it's because generally most people don't realize that executives are very different than managers. A lot of people conflate management and executive responsibilities as being the same thing, and that's not true. So when people are looking to promote you to the VP level, you need to have executive skills, which are different in many cases than professional skills or management skills. And so there's a bunch of things there that, we built this program that basically teaches those basic tools. And then we also show you how to market and promote yourself in a way. I like to tell my clients that they need to be the CEO of their own career and treat their career as if it's a business. So
Mm.
they're probably really good at being the COO of their business. They do the thing, whatever it is that they do in their career, really well. But in terms of promoting themselves, marketing themselves, selling themselves in interviews, those are skills that not a lot of executives or aspiring executives have. So we go through the process of teaching you how to act, sound, and think like an executive, but then also how to market and promote yourself as one as well. So it's a great offering. It's a great program. Currently, we have 52 people in the program, with a couple dozen more right on, a couple dozen discovery calls. So many calls now that we have a closer helping me out actually handle these calls. So Really, really good program. If you know someone, or if you are someone who's at the like manager, director level, and you're trying to get to VP and you don't know what's holding you back, this program will teach you everything you need to know and walk you step by step through the process. And usually the signing bonus covers the cost of the program.
Love that. Especially when you can, yeah, liquidate the cost right away. That that's definitely helps. Um, Amazing. Okay, so let's kind of rewind a little bit. So about what was it, like 10 months ago we started working together, something like that. I think it was the start of April. And
Mhm.
what was the process like, kind of like getting off the ground? Because I know there's a lot of people watching the channel right now that are kind of at like the 5 to 10K a month mark, or even like less than that too, just kind of like trying to build some traction. Maybe they've been like grinding hard for a long time making content, maybe they've run some ads before, it hasn't really taken off. Like, what kind of advice would you give them based on some of the experiences that you had kind of going through that to get things off the ground? Because if I'm remembering correctly, I think it was like your fourth month you did like just shy of 50, which is pretty good. That's pretty quick getting from zero. So yeah, what did you learn kind of in those early stages that would help somebody kind of really just gain some initial traction?
Humility. I mean, so I've closed $1.5 billion in sales in my professional career. This was all B2B and B2G, business to government type business. And so there's a plaque right here for 720 million of that in one contract. So those numbers are big, but it's a different kind of sales. It's a very like B2B and B2C are very, very different. So I didn't know what I was doing with a B2C offer. So I decided to just, I'm the student, you know, these are people who know what they're doing way more than I do in this way. Like if you came into my world and were trying to capture $1 billion program with the Army, then I would lead the way, right? But here I am not knowing how to do what you do. So I just basically checked my entire ego at the door and said, I don't know, you tell me what to do. And it was like, okay, go record some reels. And I'm like, what are reels? I didn't know how to record reels. I didn't know what they were. I had 300 friends on Instagram, and that was where we started. So it was like, okay. So I went and recorded some reels, and they were terrible. They're still on my Instagram. I won't take them down because I want people to know where I started.
Yep.
But yeah, I started recording these reels, and I just basically spoke with honesty and authenticity. So, I believe firmly that leaders need to be authentic, empathetic, and audacious. And the authenticity is actually, I still get a lot of comments from people who are like, your content just strikes me as being very authentic. And when people get on a call with me, they're surprised by like, that's exactly the person that I saw on the reel. Like you're not an act or a difference. So I think being really authentic in my content helped me in the beginning. It helped. I had a couple reels very early on that got a little bit of organic lift, brought in my first 10,000 followers basically organically pretty quickly. And then from there, we ran an ad that just took off. And this ad, I just followed your script. Step by it was said, okay, in the first sentence, say this. In the second sentence, say that. In the third, like I took that, I built the ad, I shot it right here. It's got over 3 million views now. Um, about 1 million of them are organic. And like, so that ad we actually ran that ad on TikTok and it ran organically on TikTok on its own. We didn't put any money into it. And that
Hmm.
brought in 6 clients from TikTok just for copying and pasting an Instagram optimized ad over to TikTok. So the
Wow.
ad was absolutely it's not just the structure of the ad, but how you put the ad together, how you boost the ad, what you're doing behind the ad, and the way you communicate inside the ad. Like I actually tried to update this ad and it didn't go as well, the update, because I didn't have the same energy that I had in that one. And so all of these little nuances about like what makes something work, it's just these little tweaks, and they're so fine that you really need to work with someone who knows what they're doing, how to do these things. And that's what I found, so I've learned a tremendous amount about how all this works just by following the course material, listening to the people, talk through their challenges in the group calls, during the Q&As, just in the Slack, asking a ton of questions. And so I was just a pure student. And I think all of the success that I had was just, it was a little bit like I didn't know what I didn't know. So like I was dumb enough to just think like, well, yeah, you just get to 100 grand a month at some point, and you just, so like I just always assumed that it would work. And
Mhm.
um I didn't know it would work this well, this fast, but it's been a fun ride.
That's an incredible answer, Tom. And I know, especially in like the entrepreneur space, there's a lot of ego, or at least there can be. And I know I see that's one thing that comes up often with a lot of people I talk to as well. And like myself included, I have the tendency to be like, oh no, I'll figure it out. I'm smarter than this guy, but meanwhile, they're much further ahead in this specific avenue. So yeah, hats off to you for having that wisdom and humility to be able to kind of, yeah, check your ego at the door, like you said. And like watching your journey too, it's kind of been, it seems like two, there's been like three different seasons from my perspective. One was kind of the push from 0 to 50 in that kind of first like 4 months, where it was kind of just you and Nicole. And I think you had a setter in there too. And like you're just kind of getting really scrappy with it. You're getting proof of concept and just signing a bunch of people up, and then really just kind of refining the messaging, refining the content, getting more comfortable on camera and stuff like that too. And then from there, kind of hit 50, things broke a little bit. And so anyways, from there to kind of the end of the year, it seemed like it was just a phase of like building, right? You built out the team, you built out the program much more thoroughly as well, and really just kind of doubled down on a lot of the back end stuff. And then I think it was, what was it, December, you had another 50K month, and then January you doubled, hit your first 100K month right after, once you kind of had everything, like all the foundations set. What was that process like, kind of going from like when you hit your first 50K month, and then like the building phase, the building season? I know we've talked a lot about this in the mastermind too over the last few months. But yeah, what was that process like, kind of putting the right people in the right place? I know you do have a lot of experience with this just throughout your career, like building teams and hiring and stuff like that. But yeah, you mind just kind of talking on that topic just a little bit about kind of, yeah, team building and kind of building out the program, and really just kind of building the foundations properly to be able to scale to 7 figures? Because a lot of people watching the channel are kind of stuck at like 20 to 50,
Mhm.
and they've been plateauing there, and they don't, like, they're kind of missing that one piece that's going to get them, well, there's a few pieces that are going to get them up to 100 and beyond.
You need to link the video to this one of where you talk about the stages of your business, where you hit a plateau, you had to do something, and then you wound up at another plateau.
Hmm.
And that, because that's exactly what happened for me. The same thing. In that first season that you talk about, I was teaching one to one. So I was coaching people one to one directly. So I was in the DMs. I was the setter. My wife at some point took over setting for a while, but it was just the two of us setting. And then I would take the discovery calls, and then I would work with them individually one to one. And that, of course, couldn't scale. So by the end of June, it was like, okay, I've broken this. So now I have too many people to do all one to one. I have to have a course. So I built a course. I put the course out there, started sending people to it. It wasn't even complete. It was only half complete, but it was enough that I could like give them a couple modules to chew on while I like figure out what I'm doing. Eventually got the course completely built out, but then it broke again. And it was, the course is fine, but I'm on 50. discovery calls a month. And then I'm on still several one-to-one calls and now group calls, and I'm making content for Instagram, for YouTube, for LinkedIn, and I'm also building the course. And this was it was a very intense time where it was just like, this is exhausting. I can't keep this up. So we
Mhm.
made the decision to do two things. One, September, I stopped taking all sales calls. We told our setter to take a nap for a month and basically just slow rolled all of our leads in DMs. And I think I took like three sales calls that month. And because I needed time somewhere to come from somewhere so that I could finish building out things for the rest of the program. So I built out the rest of the course. I improved the course. So that was now the third generation course that I had that was fully built out. And I also brought in a client success manager and a second person who I call a program director. And she's kind of at my level. She's an executive recruiter with 25 years of experience. So she can be in the Slack and on one-on-one calls with people and giving them equal value to what I would in regards to, executive career path and things like that. So, made all these investments in September, and October was a little crunchy. It was like ramping back up takes, when you and you kill your, I didn't kill the ads, but I just slow rolled all of the DMs. October was a little bit slow to uptake. November was very quiet until right at the end of the month. And then December wound up being that first true 50K month that we had. And at that point, so at the end of December, we had put everything in place for now the next plateau, whatever that is. And that's what happened in January was everything was built out. I knew I could sustain, my offer is $7,500. I knew I could sustain 10 to 15 people a month with everything that we had built out by late November, early December. And in December, we hit I think like 7 8 people, so it was a little over 50K for that month. So like it was actually very easy for us to handle that capacity wise. And then January, new year, new you, all of that I think led to just an absolute avalanche of people coming in, but we were ready. And that was the important thing was that even in November, October, November, I was saying like we just got to get through this because come January, the new year, new you crowd will be thinking like, I don't want to go back to my job. Let me figure out how to change my life. And um, boy, were we right. That was exactly what happened for us was an incredible storm. I think it was 15 people who joined the program, wound up, I think, at 103 cash, 115 revenue for January. And nothing broke. That's the beautiful part about this is that it has not stressed our system at all. Client success, sales, the front end funnel, everything is running smoothly. It's running like it's supposed to. And I don't know if we'll repeat that in February and March. And like, I feel like that was a little bit of a lump, to be honest with you. I think we're naturally at like a 60 to 70K range right now. If we were to kind of average things out, but there's smooth sailing from here to 200K a month, without having to change anything in the systems that we've built. And again, everything that I've built is exactly what's in that diagram that you showed that shows the various plateaus, what you've got to build out. And you go to your funnel, that double funnel diagram, right? All I'm doing is adding the purple boxes as I go along,
Mhm.
the setter, then the closer, then the client success person. And so like and then the Ascension offer, which, is now something I'm pushing. So, like, I'm just following the process and having tremendous success from 0 to 100K. Everything I've done has been just basically, what your program tells me to do and what you tell me to do and what the mastermind community tells me to do. And it's just been phenomenal.
That's incredible, Tom. One of the big takeaways for me right there too was kind of just like how similar your journey was to mine, and how, like, I see a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people that are just trying to get to 100K a month yesterday. Like, they want it yesterday. They don't want to wait, they just want to get there next month kind of thing. And that's completely backwards, because this kind of stuff takes time, and you have to kind of build it properly and put the right pieces in the right place at the right time, and kind of know what those pieces are, how to actually like put them in the right place, and knowing when to do that too. And it's funny to me to kind of like to see that, because it kind of just makes it all seem kind of just like a science. It's just like a step-by-step playbook where it's like, okay, once you get to this level, do this. Once you get to that level, do this. And then it's just this kind of like repeatable system, which is really cool. And it kind of takes a lot of the guesswork out of the whole thing, right?
I will say that there is a science to what we're doing here, but there's an art as well. And I have seen there are people in a community that are struggling or have struggled in the past. And if you compare their experience to mine, the difference is the authenticity isn't there. I found that when they have the mindset, like, like when Lambo, right? Like, we just go, right? And you're just thinking about you and not thinking so much about your offer and your clients and what, the third level effects of, what you do when you make other people better and how they make people in their lives better and so forth. Right. So I think that, like, there's definitely a formulaic approach to doing these things, but you spend a lot of time trying to drill that into people's heads. And I'm not sure everybody picks that up. That, like, being a part of this group is not just learning the material, right? Somebody can cut and paste your entire course and post it on some dark website, and the people who follow it word for word will still get it wrong because they're missing the art of this. And I think that authenticity, that's the thing. Like, if I go back to when I first started trying to figure out, like, should I be a coach online? What does that even mean? I watched a whole bunch of stuff, and then I watched your video on, of all things, TikTok. And I remember, like, 25-year-old blonde Canadian kid talking about, Instagram. And I'm like, but man, I really believe him. And I was so attracted to um, your work ethic and this, like you had on purpose a very simple life, at least at that moment in your life, where
Mhm.
it was like, I do these four things a day. I think you even did a day in a life video, and it was like, well, if I was single without kids, that sounds like an awesome day. And I think that people miss that. They miss that it's not just doing the things, it's doing them for the right reasons and believing in the thing that you're doing. And there's these little nuances and micro expressions and micro phrases and things that we do that, when we're not being genuine and empathetic in our messaging, it comes across flat. And, like, I can't tell you what it is, but I can tell you what it is. It's this authenticity. And I think that, like, and then that's what I love about, it's not just the course, it's the community, because the community has a quality to it that really leans into this. And those that are the most authentic tend to be the ones that have the most success.
Very well said. And I'd like to kind of double click on this a little bit too, because I know when we were in Mexico in September for the client retreat, um, we can talk about the details another time. But nonetheless, you gave an incredible workshop on leadership and what it takes to be a leader. And you kind of alluded to this earlier about authenticity and the other two pillars. Do you mind just kind of like double clicking on that and just kind of expand on each one of the pillars as well? Because I know you have a ton of experience being a leader, and not only in like the online business space, but in like the traditional kind of corporate space as well, where there's a lot more kind of structure and systems, and it's just a lot more traditional. Whereas sometimes like our industry can kind of feel like the Wild West with like just kind of, yeah, the guys going, the gurus out there just buying Lambos, right? So yeah, do you mind kind of like talking about like what does it mean to you to be a leader?
Yeah, great question. So I teach that there are two ways to the top. And there are two types of people who get to the highest levels of leadership. And that leads to wealth, power, influence. Well, you can imagine there's one type of person who's attracted to wealth and power and influence, um, but for their own reasons. There's another type of person who's attracted to that, and they see wealth, power, and influence as tools to do great things for others and for the world. And so I think a lot about this because I've had success in my career being a leader, and I have watched other people have success in their careers being manipulative, playing politics, deceiving and lying to people above and beside them to take, to step on the shoulders of other people to move up the ranks. And they're in corporate society. Unfortunately, right now, we're at a place where there is a dearth of leadership and an overabundance of selfish, manipulative leaders whose self-interests happen to align with those of shareholders. And for whatever reason, we've decided in this day and age that maximizing shareholder value is the first and only purpose of a business. And I firmly disagree with that. That's not what made North America great in the mid 20th century. It was when you put the people, the profit, and the planet all equally important. When corporations stood for something more than just profit for the shareholders, they stood for a quality of life for their employees and a quality of product for their customers. Those things are missing in corporate America because we've allowed too many selfish people whose self-interests are aligned with shareholders into the top levels of leadership. So, what makes a great leader? Someone who's authentic, because a good leader is someone that you can follow. And if you know, like, and trust someone, you can understand why they make decisions, right? That's really important for me to understand why my boss is, why she's acting a certain way. It's because, oh, because she's reacting to this thing. Now I understand her thought process. Being authentic helps the team feel a sense of trust with the leader and then amongst themselves. If the leader is wearing a mask and being deceitful and changing their behaviors on a regular basis, it's going to lower the level of trust in the team, and that's going to lead to a lot of bad outcomes for everyone. So authenticity is super important. The other one is empathy. And empathy is the ability to understand the world through someone else's perspective. We all have beliefs and opinions about politics, religion, all of these things. Those beliefs are built on our experiences and the stories that we've been told or we tell ourselves. So, stories and experiences are what inform our beliefs, and our beliefs inform our opinions. When someone has a very opposite opinion to you about something, empathetic people are able to ask themselves why. Why? What story did they live through in order to get to a place where that is the right answer for them? And empathetic people are able to build connections with other people in that way by asking questions. So why do you believe this? Tell me your story. Tell me about your background. What has that been like? And then once you understand what makes someone tick, you can communicate with them in a way that they will understand, because communication is what the listener does. It's not what you do. When you talk, you're just putting words together in a way that makes sense to you, right? Like right now, I am talking in a tone and a voice that makes perfect sense to you, but it may not make sense to someone who doesn't think about the world the same way that I do. And when you learn how to communicate the same message 30 different ways for 30 different perspectives, that makes you a great leader. Now people can follow you that don't even necessarily see the world the same way you do. And then finally, audacity. I pulled this word from Barack Obama's book, The Audacity of Hope, back in 2008. And the reason is that he used audacity in a way that is a positive thing, right? Good trouble is another word that I've heard used for this, where you are going against the grain, but for a good cause. And I'm somebody who believes in a righteous cause. I will self-immolate for the right reason, you know? And I think that like leaders are like that. Great leaders will put the cause above their own selfish interests. And so being audacious to me means build something great. Don't build something boring. Don't don't try to, just like if you want to build something that grows 3 to 4% a year, why? Why? Like you only have one life. Go live it and do something great. And I think that if you're meek and timid and not willing to take chances, that really holds back your leadership ability. And people won't necessarily follow you unless the cause that you champion is great enough to follow. So I may not, I may not get excited about helping I may not get as excited about helping one person as I do about helping a million if the level of work is the same, right? And so I think the audacity of building great things is a key trait. So authenticity, empathy, audacity is a long answer, but those are the three traits that I think, quite honestly, great leaders need to have. And if you are lacking in any of them, mirror check time.
I love that. And on that same topic, Tom, I know over the last week or so, you went up to the cabin and you just kind of disconnected for a while, and you've been working on your new book. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So as I've put together this program, so go back to just, April of 2023 when I first started all this. I was doing one-to-one coaching on how to be an executive, and basically I had just, scribbled down 8 modules, delivered 1 hour over 8 weeks, or 1 hour a week over 8 weeks, and that was all I had. It's now morphed into this very like we have a lot of data on what works and what doesn't. We have a lot of experience now in there's a very specific process of putting all of this together in the right order that leads to the best and fastest outcomes for people. And it turns out that you have to do two things at the same time in order to be successful at this. One, upskill your executive skills and change your mindsets and beliefs about what it means to be an executive. But two, you have to build your audience, your fan base. You have to build your network in a way that these two things are happening kind of step by step, side by side. If you focus on one and then serially go to the next, it doesn't work as well. So, um, as I figured that out, it started to become like, well, how systematized can this be? And we've kind of come up with a pretty good, solid framework and a system of like, do this, then this, then this. That's what's going into the book. The book is going to become the course. And basically, I'm going to sell this book for, I don't know, $10, $5, something like that. But I'm going to sell this book and it's going to hopefully get in the hands of millions of people and teach them all of the things that are holding them back from being successful and then give them the first step for free. Like, let me walk you through step by step how to do the first part. So I think that um, yeah, like the book basically is the like culminating piece of my entire course. Once I write the book, then I can take pieces of that and reshoot it as film for the course. But the book, if anyone reads the book, when they come to my implementation program, they'll know everything that they need to know in terms of what to do, and then we will show them how to do it.
Very powerful. Any idea on kind of the timeline on that? And for when that does come out, I know you might not have a good answer to that, but like where can people find you as well, Tom?
Yeah, I have an audacious goal to use my own I'm actually taking my own medicine here. My audacious goal is to publish in April. So
Wow.
working very hard on putting this book together. Hopefully by then, you can find me really two places. One right here on YouTube at Tom Cox VM, Victor Mike. And I'm also on Instagram with the same handle at Tom Cox VM. And at Instagram, DM me and I'll answer. So those are the best places to find me, Instagram and YouTube.
Amazing. And when we were chatting yesterday too, I know that you kind of alluded to it, and I don't really know anything about this yet, but just about kind of general leadership coaching, rather than kind of like helping mid-career professionals get to the executive level. Mind kind of touching on that a little bit? Is that something you're focused on right now? Um, yeah, let's just explore that a little bit.
I've had a lot of entrepreneurs reach out to me about leadership coaching for entrepreneurs specifically. And I don't have an offer for them yet, but I am building one. And I'm looking for the right people to take through a trial of this. So, if you're out there, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to learn what it takes to actually lead a venture-backed, Series A raise type business, if you want to lead a team of 20, 30 people, even if it's not a venture-backed business, even if it's just your business, but you want to take the next step. Here's the thing. I'll just back up and say this. Each company has a lid to which it can grow, above which it cannot. And that lid is set by the leader. So this is called the law of the lid. And basically, the company cannot grow past the ability of its leader. And so if your company is stuck at 20 to 30K a month, that's your fault. And what I want to do is help entrepreneurs understand that and understand how to take that lid off. And so that's how you show up as a person to your team, to your investors, to your customers, to your vendors, to everybody, right? And it's also what you think about, right? We talk about the four layers in any organization, individual contributor, manager, executive, and owner. And entrepreneurs tend to wear all four of those hats at any given time. Learning how to take the right hats off at the right time to focus on wearing the right hats in the right moments, that's something that I want to teach. So I've got this offering mostly put together. I'm looking for a handful of people to bring into this and walk them through. So if you're looking to raise the lid of your organization, I mean, run ads, but also, take a look at take a look at yourself. Take a look at yourself as the leader. Are you somebody that you would follow? And if not, what's missing? And I'm pretty good at kind of spotting what that is and helping people see that themselves and work through those things and grow themselves so that their business can also grow.
Incredible. And everybody watching this video right now is also an entrepreneur. So I know I'd imagine you're gonna get a few audacious leaders reaching out to you and putting their hands up. So again, probably best place to find you, Instagram, Tom Cox VM, and just send you a quick message, say, hey, I watched the interview with Jeremy. I'm interested. And then you'll take them from there.
Yeah, DM me Jeremy and I'll know what you're talking about.
Perfect. Perfect. Awesome. Well, Tom, thanks so much for coming on today. I know I want to be respectful of your time because you're a busy man these days. And anyways, yeah, really appreciate you hopping on here. Any last words of advice to somebody trying to scale their coaching business?
Coaching is the biggest life hack I've ever found. When you can walk side by side with someone that you know, like, and trust on a path that they have walked hundreds of times, but you've never walked once, it doesn't matter how much it costs because the value on the other side is, I mean, I'll think of it this way. Like, I, whatever I paid you, I've made back almost 100-fold now. And it's like you taught me how to fish, right? You didn't feed me, you showed me how to fish. And I think that people need to understand that if you're on the fence about whether you should invest in a coach, ask yourself why and what kind of mindset are you in right in that moment? Because the money is important, not for the coach, but for you, the person who's being coached. It has to be painful. you have to put that kind of money in because doing so makes you want to, it's like burning your ships. You have to commit. So if you're on the fence about coaching of any kind, I got to tell you that like I didn't have this mentality until last year. I dove into coaching. I have several coaches now. Spent well over $60,000 in coaching in the last year. No regrets. Every single coach I've worked with has paid back more than I put into them. And so if you're thinking about like, I don't know, can I just learn the ad stuff without paying? You're missing the whole point if you think that way. So that's what I'll leave you with.
Powerful, powerful. Yeah, I think one of the biggest life hacks for me too is having a coach for different areas of your life too.
Mhm.
Fitness, mindset, business overall, systems, stuff like that. I think I've got 3 or 4 currently, um, because they're way better and smarter and more experienced in that specific avenue than I am. So in order to get to where they are in their level, just speed run that with some money.
And you
So
got a bunch of these kinds of coaches in your mastermind that I know you're not talking about publicly, but I'll just mention it secretly here that that mastermind is pretty powerful. There's some killers in that group that have taught me a lot.
yeah, those conversations are pretty powerful. And yeah, for those that aren't aware, haven't really talked about it too much. It's kind of been low key, but everyone in there is doing anywhere from like 50 to 250 a month.
Mhm.
And it's just a much higher level conversation about, because everyone there, we've solved our lead problem. That's not an issue anymore. It's more so a fulfillment bottleneck and delivery and team and systems and all that stuff. So that's really what the conversations are geared towards. And there's other guys kind of at or above your level really just coming together to mastermind and brainstorm. So if you are interested, DM me mastermind on Instagram about that. But if you're not quite there yet as well, then if you are interested in Summit Scale, which is my flagship program, the main one, the only one I really focus on, then either book in a call down below, links in the description, or DM me over on Instagram, say, hey, I'm in. And we can either sign you up in the DMs or get on a call as well with me or one of my team members. So that said, we'll wrap things up here. Tom, thank you so much for hopping on. It's always a pleasure talking with you. And I learn so much every time we connect and every time we chat. So thank you for sharing your wisdom and your experience with us. And again, if you are interested in Tom's book down the road, or if you're an entrepreneur looking to level up your leadership, then go follow Tom on Instagram, Tom Cox VM, Victor Mike, and DM him, Jeremy. And yeah, aside from that, thanks again, Tom. Appreciate you.
Pleasure to be here, man. Thank you.